What's up, spilled milkers? What can I say? One of my favorite t-shirts. You've seen it before. Yes, it's true. I have about 500 t-shirts downstairs in my dressing room, and I basically wear the same 8, and then I get rid of them and do a new 8. And I won't throw away any of the 500 because they're classics, but I also don't want to wear them all the time because they're classics. Anyone relate? Yeah. I'm probably the same way about food items in my pantry too. I've probably had things that were spoiled by the time Eisenhower became president, but I still have them in there because what if I need that particular kind of, ancient Etruscan kebab spice? I'm nuts that way. And I'm not in a hotel room, thank God. I'm actually finally home after many weeks on the road. So let's get right to it, shall we? It's fiddlehead fern season, writes Max. What should I do with them? Do not eat them raw. Pickling them is fantastic. You do a classic hot pickle and just pour the hot sweet and sour vinegar liquid. You can season that with chilies and pickling spices, however you want, slices of garlic, pieces of ginger, whatever. Pour that over the fiddlehead ferns, jar, let it cool, seal it, fridge, good for 2 weeks. You'll eat them all. I like sauteing them, taking them out of the saute pan and then making a brown butter sauce. Brown butter vinaigrette is delicious with them, but I love the nutty flavor of brown butter, especially an emulsified sauce with egg, sort of like a quasi brown butter hollandaise, and just dunk fiddleheads in them. Fantastic, fantastic. Oh, but also steam them. They're a great addition to salads. Anyway, Mimi writes, "Hey, Chef Andrew, would you consider coming to Chicago for the impending 17-year cicada hatching to give us some ideas on what to do with the trillions, yes, of the critters? Fry them. Stone cold, fry them. That way, the crispy little legs and all the other things, the effluvia will burn off or be a lot easier to eat, and the central bodies get really crispy. Take your cicadas. What did I eat? Brood 17 down in Virginia 8, 9, 10 years ago for an episode of a show that I made once called Bizarre Foods. But a lot of people wonder, can you eat cicadas? And you can. And what I found, and we didn't get to include this in the show, but I got so many cicadas that some people had froze, others I've had fresh, and similar types of bugs, that if you take the central body, take a spray gun, and mist them with a little seasoning mixture, little oil, vinegar, water, mustard, whatever you want to sort of do it with. Apple juice is great as well. Sprinkle them with salt, dredge them, half rice flour, half cornstarch, and fry them, and then dip them into like a Thai dipping sauce, like a Nam Jim or a Nuoc Cham. That's Vietnamese, but something similar. You're gonna absolutely go nuts. You will adore them. Ken writes, maybe this is something I should discuss with my therapist. Should I even continue? I actually don't read these ahead of time, but I always read the comments on your Instagram posts. There's nothing wrong with that, Ken. I sometimes read the comments on my Instagram posts. People often comment that whatever you're making is not authentic in some way, and then list some ingredient you should or shouldn't have used, or technique they object to or claim you missed. Yes, that is correct. They do it all the time. They can't all be right. No, they're not. How do you read those comments without going nuts? 99% of them are very innocent comments. Oftentimes what happens is someone grows up in a, let's just say, Jewish household, as I did. And the people who were doing the cooking were made some switches in ingredients and stuff like that. And perhaps the authenticity, in air quotes if you're listening, gets diluted somehow. And then they grew up and they shame other people because they're like, oh, schmaltz doesn't belong in that dish. Or if you don't grate onions in your latkes, they're wrong. Or make other generalized statements that are just factually incorrect. But they're done very innocently. I just ignore them. If someone asks me, then I will answer the question. Then there are dishes where I am purposely giving my impression of that dish. And if people were to click on the link and go and watch the video, I typically say, this is my impression of this dish. Traditionally, it's done with X and Y. Most people don't have access to X and Y, so I substitute blank. But people just love to look at something online, and it's a gotcha mentality, right? Everybody wants to play gotcha. So I don't, what other people think of me is none of my business, as my spiritual gurus taught me a long time ago, and it helps. Now, occasionally, someone says something, and I don't say that like I'm right all the time. I just mean a lot of the comments like that are, by the way, 50% of those comments are people saying, shut your big fat mouth, you big fat fuck, and when you're chewing. Just hateful stuff. There are a couple people, if you peruse my comments regularly, there's 8 or 9 haters out there. I don't block them. I just, there's one guy who replies to every post I make, everyone with the same stupid word. They're just trying to poke me. But every once in a while, I get a comment from someone, and either their name or their photo or how they present their argument intrigues me, and I click on them and I find out that they are Algerian, and their mother did make a version of a spicy red pepper relish, and the version I learned was authentic. I learned it when I was in Algeria from an Algerian chef, but this person says, no, you got to make it this way, you're wrong. And they're just using that word based on what they know. But then I learned something and I try it and I incorporate it. So it's actually it's a great question, Ken. And yes, it is sometimes difficult for me not to tell someone to go fuck themselves. Let's just be honest. Some people in comments on social media with public people just get ridiculous, and it's insanity. Let's see, what else would apply to that? Oh, and then the other thing is there's some foods that are syncretic in that they're, like chicken tikka masala or General Tso's chicken are not from the Indian subcontinent or China. They were created in England and America, respectively. I call those things out when I'm cooking them. Other people disagree with, it long involved stuff. And then I guess the last category, which is actually kind of fun and funny, is when a food is from a region, and I use that, not a country, a region, invented before colonialism put lines on a map, right? So, colonialists put lines on the map in the Levant, what is now referred to as the Middle East, was actually a little bigger than that, or Africa, for example, or a lot of island nations or places in South America. And so consequently, if we now consider a dish to be, Arabic, and someone else starts hammering at me because they say, well, that's a Yemenite dish. Well, yes, 1,000, 2,000 years ago, it may have originated there. It is now spread to another part of the world where that other part of the world popularized it. And so going with the commonplace history to say, hey, this was created here, popularized there, is oftentimes what I say in longhand, but not in a post. All right. Angie, what do you think about TikTok maybe going away? I find a lot of recipes there. Well, it's bigger than that, and you're right. TikTok is probably the most popular place for food videos, and there's a lot of creators that make a lot of money there. We can have that argument later about how valid they are, but I defend their right to make food videos with my last dying breath. And there are many creators who are great. I think the TikTok issue has become politicized. I would love there to be more transparency on the danger inherent in data collection from a company like TikTok, which people demonize the Chinese. And I'm not saying that the Chinese government doesn't try to do a lot of spying on us. They do. We do a lot of spying on them. We do. I just have a hard time with and this is not both sidesism, even though I'm going to say something that is both sidesism. American-owned tech companies do as much, if not more, spying on us on social media than perhaps TikTok does. So I would love to see how Instagram and X and Google and all those companies, and yes, TikTok, how they collect our data and why that's not safeguarded in some way by our government. I think government's role is the safety of the people. That's its primary purpose, the health, well-being, and safety of its people. So if we're going to condemn TikTok, then shouldn't we be looking at other platforms as well? Or the internet in general? Or Mrs. Kravitz across the pond spying at me while I'm doing this? I'm just joking. She's lovely. That was an old Bewitched sub-reference. Susie writes, Andrew, I have a young chef friend, CIA grad, who is working at 11 Madison Park. Fantastic. He just described a dish he is developing. I really had no idea what he was talking about. And I pride myself on being well-educated about food. I love it. It was very precious and precise. Yes, the food there, it's a 3-star Michelin restaurant that is, as she points out, a very competitive kitchen, and it's plant-based. Anyway, all these young chefs trained at every station. Are you surprised EMP thrives as a plant-based restaurant with, yes, it's $400 a person, and I think that's without wine. Could it exist anywhere but New York City? I mean, maybe LA, maybe. I just think Daniel Hume, who's an amazing chef, one of the world's best, was extremely, extremely smart in that he saw a crack in the universe and said, he wanted to be creative, and he wanted to do it in a way that I think was on trend. I don't think he was being manipulative, but he was the first mouse to that cheese. I don't think there's room for another restaurant like 11 Madison Park in America. So whether he opened it in New York or LA is really irrelevant. What's to me more relevant is that I don't think we have room for more than one, maybe two, restaurants like that. Okay, from a service level, expense standpoint, wine list. I mean, like everything else about 11 Madison Park is at the highest level. It's one of the best restaurants in the world, full stop. And so, I think it's an amazing thing that a chef was able to, 11 Madison Park, when Will and Daniel were running it as a more conventional restaurant, was named, I think 8 years ago, was the #1 restaurant in the world. And for years before that was in the top 10 as they made their way into being number one. And then to do it again by reinventing the restaurant as a plant-based restaurant shows a level of creativity and brilliance in terms of what Daniel Humm's able to do as a chef that I think is amazing. Hong writes, I'm on my way to Jazz Fest in New Orleans. Where should we eat while we're there? Boy, you're going to need a lot more time than just Jazz Fest, my friend. Let's see here. I got to find my notes. I'm filling. Let's see. Okay. I'm just looking at my New Orleans list. Compare Le Pain, Nina Compton's place, Afro-Caribbean, Creole Cajun hybrid with her own personal inflection point, one of the best restaurants in New Orleans. R&O's out in Metairie, a great lunch times. I mean, you go there at any time, day or night. But R&O's is one of my can't miss restaurants. Got a little bit of everything from po' boys to jambalaya, from, fried fish to, crab cakes. Commander's Palace. I mean, every time they put a new chef in there, sometimes they're more successful right away. Sometimes it takes a while for that new chef to kind of find their roots, but it's brilliant again. Fiorella's, that New Orleans Italian cuisine that's just incredible, sort of only in New Orleans place. Parkway, one of the best places for a po' boy ever. Central Grocery, Justin Devilier's place. That's La Petite Grocery. Central Grocery is the muffaletta shop. Go for a muffaletta, say you had it, smell the air, go across the street and down the block to Cafe Du Monde, have a beignet and some chicory coffee. Emerald's, because what his son EJ is doing there is brilliant. Domelice's, another great place for po' boys. Cochon and Cochon Butcher, Steven Strajewski and Don Links, ode to all things pig. I mean, just one of my favorite places to eat in town. Tan Din, one of the many great Vietnamese restaurants there that, by the way, I'm always saying, when I'm in China, I don't want to go to an American barbecue restaurant. Yeah, that's right. However, the Vietnamese population has flourished in New Orleans, helped rescue a lot of the city during Katrina, and especially the shrimping industry and the crabbing industry and the fishing industry. And there's so many great Vietnamese restaurants down there that kind of like when I'm in Houston and I go to Crawfish and Noodles, when I'm in New Orleans, I try to seek out a great Vietnamese meal. Saba, Alon Shia's restaurant, along with Miss River, just some incredible, his food is insane. The whole fried chicken, yes, an entire fried chicken, deep fried. It's insane. Peche Seafood Grill, another one of Don Link's places, absolute seafood heaven. La Petite Grocery, Justin Devilier's place. His shrimp and grits with tasso is out of control. Willie Mae's Scotch House, maybe the best fried chicken in America. You be the judge. I think they had a fire there and they're remodeling. Check it before you go. Brigson's, a New Orleans classic. It's like walking into another age, and it's got all of the New Orleans classics there. Café Degas, small French bistro. I love it. Let's see. Brennan's, another place where you're going to get all the classics. And of course, Bananas Foster was invented there. Still serve tableside, so check it out. Galatoire's, go for Friday lunch. Get there early. You can sit. This is a true story. So I went to Galatoire's a long time ago. And I've kept going because I think the food is fantastic. Tuxedos on the waiters. You got to wear a jacket to go in, but they have hundreds. So if you don't have one, they'll put one on you. But Friday lunch is like a thing there. And Friday lunch on Good Friday or a Friday holiday, like the Friday of, a holiday weekend, is insane. And people go there and they will sit down. I arrived and, being a regular there and not going to lie, shot TV there. They know me there. Walk in. And my guest and I, we just want a table for two. I like to eat downstairs. There's no seats. It's packed. And the manager is like, "Oh, Mr. Zimmern, sorry. And some guy in the corner waves. And the maitre d' says, excuse me 1 second. Or the manager goes over, comes back and says, "Oh, that's, Mr. So-and-so. He's a regular here. He says he has two guests leaving. Would you like to join him?" I'm like, "Sure, love meeting people that way." Just looking, my friend and I were looking for a quick meal. Well, we were there for about 4.5 hours. And as was explained to me, on Friday lunches, but especially on holiday weekend or holiday Friday lunches, regulars will come in at 11:30, take a table of 6, like they're a deuce, and just keep bringing in waves of friends to eat with them. And they'll just sit there, sometimes into the night, drinking and eating all day. How fucking cool is that? It's what makes Galatoire's. I love that vibe there. Dookie Chase's, obviously. Leah Chase's, the restaurant she and her husband founded. No longer with us, but carried on by family members and delicious. Herb Saint, Don Link's original place. Barrow's, it's a 80-year-old restaurant. It's now in a new location near the airport. I always try to stop there for fried fish. It's insane. Let's see, McCarty's fried chicken, same kind of deal. You decide if Willie Mays or McCarty's has got better fried chicken. Toops Meadery, Isaac Toops's place. Dakar, which is West Africa meets the Caribbean hybrid restaurant. You've got to go to Dakar. Dakar is an absolute must. I know I'm forgetting all kinds of places. But for what it's worth right now, that's a good enough starting list for you for Jazz Fest. Let's see. Now I gotta find my, where the heck was I? We had another question. Sorry guys, I know I'm driving you crazy. Friday night fight night dinner suggestions. Yeah, I'm a big UFC fan. And usually it's always meal in a bowl stuff because what I do is I'm at the kitchen counter in my house. I have this long giant counter. And so like I can reach over, like I'm by my sink. And I've got all the cooktop and stuff like that over there. And over my shoulder, couches and stuff like that. And up there, I have a big TV on the wall. So I eat there. And if, family's around, inviting friends over, that's the night to make a big bowl of red beans and rice. I use Emily Ruthos's recipe, Alon Shia's wife. The best red beans and rice ever. Loaded with ham hocks. And you want a meal in a bowl. Chili, lasagna. What else would I do? Some kind of, a congee. you know, you know what I'm saying. I'm not making any sense right now. It's been a long week, couple of weeks. But do a meal in a bowl kind of thing, right? I love making a stew of cubed veal in a cream sauce with lots of sherry and mushrooms and pearl onions. Serve that over buttered noodles. Do a goulash, over spätzle. I mean, tons of stuff like that to do. But those are good fight night because you can eat a bowl and then in between rounds or in between fights, get up and get more. Let's see. We had some other questions down here as well. I was Googling. A couple windows popped up on my New Orleans city list that I keep. We're going to put these city guides out more formally for people to reference. But I'm just double checking this other one that I sent to a friend of mine in the form of an email to make sure that I included everything. Yeah, I think so far. Oh, Giacomo's. Awesome. Incredible party spot. Great music. Killer shrimp etouffee. Skip the alligator sausage cheesecake, which is like sort of like the dish that they became known for, but no need. It's okay. It's a little gimmicky, but the food and the rest of the stuff is great there, especially when it's pastas with seafood. Let's see what else. That was it. Giacomo's was the one that I forgot. Last question of this week goes to, I gotta scroll back up. Where is it? Ted writes, I saw your Instagram post about Chicago. Where in the airport did you get your hot dog? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I have an airline club membership, and they were offering it at the airline club. They have a little cart. There's a person there, and they have all of the Vienna products, and it's awesome. And even better because it was free, although I guess it's not technically free because I have to fly a ton of miles, and then they make you a member of the club. How's that for a bougie answer to a question about a hot dog? The irony is not lost on me. See you later.